And so I'm very grateful for not only the good things that happened in the past, but for the bad, because I can do two things. I can go back into the past and say, thank you for the lesson that you taught me. And second is, I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to have this memory hold any weight with me right now, because there's a beautiful future on the other side of chaos. And I'm going to go that way instead of sitting here thinking of what could have been.
Welcome to OTR, Achieving Mental Health for Real. This is where we talk honestly about what people actually live with: anxiety, depression, dyslexia, OCD, trauma, and more. No stigma, no sugarcoating, just real conversations about how you think, how you feel, and how you move through the world. If you're looking for clarity, validation, and a place where your story makes sense, you're in the right space. Let's get into it.
Today, Robert sits down with Coach Willie Blake, a high-performance coach who works with dyslexic professionals, entrepreneurs, and creators who've spent years feeling behind, misunderstood, or not good enough. Willie grew up with dyslexia himself, diagnosed in first grade, and he knows the weight of trying to hide, trying to catch up, and trying to be someone you're not. Instead of letting that story define him, he learned to lead with it. Now he teaches others how to turn self-doubt into confidence, overthinking into clarity, and small steps into real momentum. He's spoken on more than 500 stages, hosted over 100 podcast episodes, and built a reputation for keeping things real, practical, and simple. If you've ever felt different or underestimated, this conversation will meet you right where you are.
Now, here's Bob with today's show.
Hello and welcome to OTR, Willie. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bob. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm so happy to have you here. You're a brother in the dyslexia area. Could you tell the audience first a little bit about your story?
Yeah, absolutely. All started back at the ripe old age of 9. No, back in the first grade is when it started. We were all walking to class, and our teacher's like, "We're going to take a detour." So we take a detour, go down this hall. Teacher has us all stand up against the wall, and she walks in. And obviously, us as first graders were like curious, so we like peek around the wall, and we saw a bunch of desks around and a bunch of adults in a room. One by one, we got filed in, and when it was my turn, I walked in, and the adult handed me this piece of paper, which to me at that time looked like basically the New York Times trying to read it. So I was trying to read it, stumbled over my words, some words I couldn't even pronounce, but luckily I finally finished it off. And I didn't know that was going to create this massive trajectory in my life, because that's when I was first diagnosed with dyslexia and struggled specifically in the areas of reading and speaking. And so throughout just elementary school, middle and high school, it was really difficult to where my friends thought it was contagious, so they stayed away from me. In middle school, I got bullied about it. And then in high school, I had friends, but they'd be going to honors classes, and I had to walk a few doors down to the class where nobody wanted to work. And it was just, didn't feel like I was a part of anything. And I felt like, is this my life? Am I always going to be left behind?
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. I understand. When I was in school, there was no dyslexia. Nobody had dyslexia.
Yeah.
That was back in the 60s. When I was in second grade, all of a sudden I couldn't work as fast. I couldn't read as fast. It just all changed in like a year. I noticed the change, and I remembered the change. And it just became such a problem because I would be afraid to talk. To this day, I'm afraid to talk. And I don't know when to talk. In other words, I'll wind up interrupting. I'll probably interrupt you today. I don't know when to talk. I don't know when that little thing is that says, okay, you can slip in there, because everybody always beats me in. So I'm sitting there pretty much saying nothing unless I'm rude and obnoxious, and then they hate me. So do you have any experience like problems with speaking to other people and, a nervousness about it?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. I think I'm very smart, and I'd be able to do in my own time, I'd be able to do all my assignments and get A's on them. But I remember just throughout the high school and even into college, I'd sit there, I'd have the answer, but I wouldn't raise my hand because I was so shy about what if the answer is wrong or what will other people think about me. So I sat there with these ideas going through my head, and then 15, 20 seconds later, finally someone else would have the answer. They'd raise their hand, say the answer, and get it right. And then I'd beat myself up and be like, oh, it was the right answer this whole time. How could I not raise my hand? And it was just that constant thing of beating myself up over it. So yeah, I definitely felt that of just whenever I felt like I had the answer, but would feel like I have to wait for this perfect moment, and the perfect moment never came.
Yeah, first 4 years of grammar school, I said nothing, zero, zip. After that, somebody came up to me in the playground and said, I know nobody wants to talk to you, but I will. And that was like an epiphany. I completely changed after that. And I was outspoken, the class clown, interrupting the teacher all the time, in the hallway most of the time. Did you ever experience anything like that? Or it was always pretty much, did they actually, how did they know you had dyslexia? In other words, once you were diagnosed, you didn't wear like a shirt that says I'm dyslexic, or how did they know? They told people and then they began to bully you?
Yeah, it was the result of being dyslexic. And so whenever I would stand up in class to read something out loud, I would stutter, I would mess up on words. Took me forever to read a sentence. Took me as long to read a sentence as other people to read a whole paragraph or a page. And so that's how people just started bullying about it. They're like, you're a slow reader. Who the heck are you? I never told people I was dyslexic, but it was because of being dyslexic that people picked on me for it.
How did your friends feel about it, the ones that went to the English class? How'd they feel about it? Did they pick on you? Or, because I know my friends picked on me all the time. So
yeah, I didn't have too many friends at that time. And the friends that I did have, they liked me for me, and they had their own challenges that they were going through. So it was like a small little group of all of us who were just challenged individuals that we just hang out with each other. And so we were supportive in our own way. We wouldn't stand up for the other person because we were shy about it and didn't want to get bullied ourselves. But no picking on from our friends, but definitely other people.
Yeah, my so-called friends, all picked on me.
Oh man,
it was just the way it was. I said stupid things. I said things that were out of context of the conversation. I'd be like, why are you doing this? They gave me a nickname and all this. And I just put up with it because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to have no friends. And some of the time they respected me when I played sports because I was pretty good in sports. So I got a little respect for that. But most of the time it was always, pick on Bob. And then throughout work, that same thing happened. So when you came out of high school, you went to college, right? Or you didn't?
Once I graduated high school, I served a religious mission for 2 years, and then I went to college.
Oh, okay. All right. And then you went to college. Okay.
Yeah.
And then out of college, what kind of profession did you go into in the beginning?
In the beginning, I started out in accounting. So did the accounting degree for a year and a half, and then a year and a half in, I realized that as I was starting to learn more about myself and being more out there, I realized I didn't want to be sitting behind a desk all the time. I actually wanted to talk to people and connect and go and be outside the office. So then I switched from accounting. I was lucky enough. The classes I took transferred really well. I went from accounting to business management, and that's what I got my bachelor's in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was good in math, but not so good in accounting. But yeah, there's usually one thing that dyslexics are good in, and maybe it's math, but it's certainly not reading. I struggled. Oh, yeah. I mean, we would get assignments to read a book, and what happened to me is I would go into the paragraph, start reading it, and then go to the next paragraph and say, I have no idea what I just read. And then I would get anxiety about it. And so it would make it worse. And it was like this. And still to this day, it's like that. It's almost like if I read, it's going to always aggravate me. It's always going to be like a problem. So I don't know how to really come to terms with that. How did you do that? I mean, obviously you became successful, and how did you do it? I guess is my question.
Yeah, and I'm on the journey. I always, whenever people say I'm successful, I'm just like, I don't feel successful, but I'm definitely doing stuff with it, right?
You're an imposter, right?
Yeah.
That's I get that all the time, and I do great IT work. I used to do tremendous IT work, and then the next day I'm sitting home and going, I'm not this guy. That guy, I'm like, I'm just a regular like jerk. How come, I can do all these great things? And I just felt terrible about it. And like, how could I do it? So I guess you're saying you had similar problems, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. The way that I went over, I don't even know if overcoming it's the right word. I would say being able to deal with it is, I learned more about just what worked for me. And so this started when I was first learning about this whole realm of business and self-development and personal growth. I came across a YouTube video. It was Grant Cardone's video. It was like 5 steps on how to be a millionaire. It was 30 minutes long. And I watched it, and I just loved the strategicness of it, just how he laid it out. So I watched a few more of his videos, then learned about this dude called Evan Carmichael, who's huge into YouTube and did like these top 10 series for people where he'd take somebody and get their top 10 lessons from them. And so we're talking about people like Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Mark Cuban, people who are out there and we consider really successful. He put this in a top 10 series, and I was just absorbing it. And as I did that, I started thinking more about to myself, well, what's my superpower? Like, what's my advantage to everybody? Because Tony Robbins says that everyone has it. So where's mine? Why is mine hidden under a bush or I can't find it? And I just over time, I realized that maybe it's the things that I have the hardest time with that might actually be my advantage. Because with dyslexia, of course, there's the reading and the writing and the speaking and spelling, seeing things backwards. Sometimes it's in math, and it always depends on the person. It depends on the severity of it. But with that also comes, for a lot of dyslexics, they're great with pattern recognition.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're also great with perspective. So if you imagine a puzzle, everyone's focused on one piece and where to put it. And they're looking really close to the board, being like, where do I put this? As dyslexics, we can take a step back and see the whole picture of it and say, okay, this piece goes in this area. And so I'm going to focus now on this area. So we're great with perspective. We're also
I used to look at, I'm sorry, I probably interrupted you again, but I used to look at schematics of things, or just a map of something, and I could understand it if you gave examples. That was how I learned. I didn't learn by people talking to me and trying to explain things.
Yeah.
I learned by getting examples and getting high-level diagrams. So I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. That's and that's something that's great, is that we're a lot better with hands-on things because we want it in front of us. And like dyslexia, when it comes down to, I like to break things down to the simplest form of it. So dyslexia is basically we process things differently, and that's information that we take in, how we interpret it in our minds, and then how we communicate it outwards. And so it's those three things of take in, inside the machine in our head, and then being able to say it outwards. So textbooks and listening to things and like all that stuff might be great for other people. But for a lot of dyslexics, we're like, show me a video of literally someone walking step by step of how to change the oil in a car, or how to make $1,000, or how to, whatever it is, like hands-on. It's something that we're great at because we love to see it right in front of us. We want to know the hand movements, where to put it, what tools we need. We like the real life application side of it because our brain is able to process that a lot more than just our sense of hearing and seeing, but our sense of touch and taste and smell, and combining those all together really gives us an advantage over most people.
Yeah, the abstract is where I go crazy. I can't do abstract, and it has to be some foundation of an example before I can learn it. But then when I learn it, I know it better than anybody.
Yes.
So that was my advantage as a software engineer. I'd look at something that no one could do. They gave me stuff that nobody could do. And I would look at it for days, just staring at it. And finally I knew everything. It just popped in my head and I knew everything. So it is a superpower. I also super focus, which I think is more part of my OCD. I have OCD on top of all this. Now, were you diagnosed with either ADHD or any kind of light autism at all? Or you weren't, did they check you for that?
Yeah, so I have dyslexia. I'd say I have undiagnosed ADHD, or at least my wife would say that. I work with a lot of people with ADHD and autism. I also have a form of OCD, as well as, I always forget how to say this, audio processing disorder. So the way that audio comes in, it's hard to have a bunch of different noises around, because if there's a bunch of them around, my brain freezes and I have to be able to focus on either one voice or just shut all of it out. That's another thing that I have.
Can you focus on what somebody's saying for a long time, or you have a problem with that as well?
It depends on if it piques my engagement. So it's a funny thing. A couple years back, I'd be sitting with my family on the couch and we'd all be talking, and then they'd go in a conversation that I just wasn't interested in. So then my mind would just go off and have its own conversation and start thinking about other stuff. And then someone would ask me a question and I mentally come back and I'm like, for the last, 5 minutes you guys have been talking, I haven't been listening. I just have to own it. Like, I haven't been listening. Yeah. So a lot of times if people talk for too long, my mind just starts going every which way, and that could be part of the ADHD. But if people are very focused and just say things quickly to the point, it's a lot easier for me to stay engaged.
Yeah, I could be talking to somebody and my mind just drifts away to something else, like a noise or anything like that. Anything like the airport is the best example. I go into the airport and I might as well not have a brain because it's like,
Yeah.
it's like negative brain. Like I go up to the person and say, please don't make me look at that ticket holder thing. And where you get your ticket? Because I don't understand it. I do data processing, but this is somebody made this up. I don't have it. I don't have the memory to remember. Everybody's doing it real fast. I'm hitting, whoa, what should I hit here? So I have to get people to help me with that. And it's a nightmare traveling. And also I'm afraid I'm going to miss the airplane.
Yeah.
So I'm always at the bar right next to the gate drinking so I could calm down. So there's a lot of anxiety that comes up with this stuff. I don't know what anxiety level that you have at this point, because I know you're doing a lot to recover. Could you talk about what the steps are to get a more like positive attitude, more, because I am trying that. Every time I have a problem where I call it the demons talk to me and they say, you're no good. You have to kill yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to stop. You're no good. If you stop thinking and start thinking about something positive, it really does help. And it's been working for me, but every day is a challenge in a way.
Yeah. It's when it comes down to thinking about it differently, one is you got to see it from both points of view. We have been taught in society and in the traditional education that we are below average just because we struggle with areas A, B, and C, with reading, writing, and speaking. But then there's the rest of the alphabet, the rest of everything else that's in life that traditional school just doesn't teach us, but we do really well in. And it's because of society and traditional education that they focus on like the memorization and a lot of things to do with the mind, that it then puts us in the place of, well, I'm just this below average person. And you can expect that if you're taught it at one, a young age, but then two, taught it consistently over more than a decade, of course that's going to be a part of a belief system that you have for your entire life, unless something else is able to come in. And so I always tell people, give yourself grace when you're first starting this out, when you're starting to learn more about what dyslexia or ADHD or autism can actually do for you in an advantage side. Gotta give yourself grace, because you are literally starting to break a habit that is a decade, 2 decades, 40 years in the making. Like a habit that's been 40 years in the making, you're not going to be breaking it overnight. Your mind's going to push so hard against it.
I've been having, I guess 60 years. And I'm just now in my late 60s. I'm just now starting to recover. I'm doing tons better. I found good medicine. Well, that's the other question do you take any medication for your ADHD or anything like that? Or you don't believe in them?
I don't take any medication personally.
Okay. That's good. If you can handle it without meds, but I couldn't. At some point I collapsed completely, utterly, and I had to stay on medication. So that's just, I have to live with that as well. But, I was looking at, some of your, podcasts, and you talked about the 2% rule.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the 2% rule?
Yeah, the 2% rule. If you think of, I don't know why a gaming thing popped up. Like if you think of a game of like you complete it at 100%, or anything that like has a progress bar, you got 100%, which that simply means that you have achieved what you wanted. So the 2% rule is taking 2% action every single day to then get to the goal that you're going for. And so this came when I first started out reading, starting at one book to then reading 12 and then working my way up to 50 books. It was, for me, someone who didn't read that much, my 2% action for a day would be to, well, the very first one was to actually walk to the bookshelf and pick a book, because that's the first step in anything. That was my 2%. Then the next 2% was then me opening the book and reading chapter 1. And so at 2%, the whole principle behind it is that if you do things, even if they're like super small, if you do things consistently over a period of time or however long it takes, you're eventually going to get to your goal that you're working towards. So many people talk about taking massive action. You got to cut cold turkey and change your whole entire life. And I'm out here saying that works for a very few people, but for a lot of other people who can't do that, and it's very abnormal to do that, let's start with something small. If you're wanting to get better health, do a walk for 5 minutes or 10 wall push-ups. If you're wanting to get financially better, every week, let's move $1 into a savings account. If it's socially, then as you're walking outside, talking to people would be a big leap for a lot of individuals. So maybe just smile and keep eye contact. That's all you got to do. Just have a smile and a nod on standby as you're walking there, which then you're like, okay, I'm getting comfortable with this. The next part is maybe I just say hi. Don't have to ask him a question. Just be like, hello. Hey, good morning. So that's the premise of what the 2% rule is. It's taking small actions every day to then work yourself into the consistency to be able to get the goal that you want.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, that's a good start. The other question I have is when you do get these, what I call demons talking to you, what's the best way to try to alleviate that and turn it around?
Great question. You're actually doing a great part in it first, which is call it something else. Because a lot of times we think that our thoughts are us when our mind is just a tool that helps us perform in this thing we call life. If we consider our thoughts that they're not us, that the thoughts that we have, they're just these random ideas that come by, then we disassociate from it, which in simpler words just means that we remind ourselves that what we think about doesn't make us who we are unless we continually think about it. And so first off, you naming it demons is a great start. Something I named my critic in my head, who's always just like, Willie, don't do this, don't do that. This is scary. Why do we have to be going after this way? Why do you have to do so many push-ups in a sitting? Why can't you just lay there and relax? I call that person Bill. And I'm like, Bill, we're going to do this. And then after, you can tell me all the reasons why not to. I talk to Bill like he's this other entity, because putting it that way makes me realize that I get to choose the consistent thoughts that I have. I'll have these thoughts. Bill will always come in. He'll always say that I'm scared. Always be the one to reserve and to make me not do something that's uncomfortable. But then I can be like, Bill, that's okay. We're safe. Nothing's bad happening. We're going to do it. And then afterwards, you can tell me why not to do it. And that's just helped me to push past that fear side with Bill.
Yeah. What I do is what I used to do is argue with it. I would say, no, I'm not this way because of it. And I would always lose the argument. It would always create more anxiety for me. So now when the thought comes up, I just said, there's a thought. It's in my brain. I'm going to ignore it as much as I can. And I'm just going to think positive. And that's what I try to do.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great thing to do, because you separate it, and it makes sense, at least to me, why you'd continually lose that battle, because you talk against it. You'd be like, no, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. And then they would come back and be like, but you are. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at these actions that you're doing. And so, like, in that, before you called it a demon and started naming it, you would be basically fighting against yourself, and you always tend to lose against yourself. So you got to build someone else to be able to win against, because you don't. It's a lose-lose situation. Either you win against yourself, but then one side loses, or if you lose against yourself, while the other side's win. It's always a lose-lose situation until you put it as just this demon or Bill or whoever you want to put the name to, because then you can actually win it, but still give the other one grace, being like, it's okay. We do feel this way, but our feelings don't necessarily reflect who we are.
Right. Right. And I heard that you also have a technique where you name things you're grateful for. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah. Things I'm grateful for. So I was actually on a podcast recording just an hour ago, and we were talking about the same thing. The person asked me, when it comes to control and when it comes to conflict, do you see it as a part in your life? And I sat there and thought for a sec, and then I said, without conflict, I wouldn't know what peace is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about dyslexia. I think about everything that's happened in my life through bullying, feeling lonely, from friends to all the challenges that happened. And I think, I don't know if I would ever trade what happened in the past. Not that I wouldn't want the memory to be different or want a more desired result, but I simply have learned to love myself and the person I'm becoming. I'm loving more of who I am and who I'm going to be, rather than the person that I was. And so I'm very grateful for not only the good things that happened in the past, but for the bad, because I can do two things. I can go back into the past and say, thank you for the lesson that you taught me. And second is, I'm going to let you go. I'm not going to have this memory hold any weight with me right now, because there's a beautiful future on the other side of chaos. And I'm going to go that way instead of sitting here thinking of what could have been.
That's tremendous. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough battle. Like some days the voices are loud and I lose. And then most days I win, which is great, because I've lost every day before. Every day was just full of nervousness and fright, fight or flight, or whatever that phrase is.
Yeah.
That's me personified. That's what I do. Even in coming on this podcast, every podcast I get super nervous. And then it makes the dopamine flow so I can actually do the podcast. I'm a little bit worried if I didn't get nervous that I wouldn't have enough to do it. I wouldn't make any sense or something. So I'm struggling with that. I don't know exactly how to deal with just the pre-jitters that I get for any kind of performance that I have to do.
I personally think that that's very normal. I think that I heard it from a mentor of mine one time, and we were talking about speaking, and being a public speaker. And he said that the worst thing that can happen when you're a public speaker is to not get the butterflies before you stand on stage.
Mm.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he said, the moment that you don't get butterflies when you get up on stage is the moment that you lose your emotion to what you're talking about.
Right.
And especially as a public speaker, you want to be emotional. You want to be emotionally connected to your audience and be able to relate a lot to them. And so it should just, that nervousness, it would just be a way to think about it, which is, I feel these nerves because I care so much about the people I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Or I care so much about my podcast that I have that, of course, I'm going to get jitters before it because I care so much and I'm still going forward anyways.
Yeah. I don't know whether I like it or don't like it. I don't like it when it's happening, but then afterwards, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's always a hindsight 2020. It's like, man, I wish I didn't have to feel all these butterflies before I get on because it makes me think of things that might happen.
I'm talking about a day before or maybe even longer. Depending on the guest, because some guests I feel like I have nothing in common with, and I'm just going to screw it up because these people are different than me. They're neurotypical, and that, neurotypicals are different. And so I have a tough time sometimes with dealing with people in general. Are you good with people as far as getting along and, going with the crowd, or are you pretty much kind of a lone type of person?
I'd say I'm a hybrid of both. A good mixture. I never want to sound like egotistical or anything, but
no, go ahead. You can do that.
I think in my life has only been, there's really only been a few people that I didn't get along with.
Okay.
And I I think about it, and I don't think it's because I don't stand for something and I'm always people pleasing. I think it's because I just love people. Like I love perspectives that people have, whether they agree with my beliefs or not. I love being able to hear people's stories and where they came from, why they do stuff. Love talking about their passions, what they would do if there was no limits on money, connections, or judgment. Like I just love just the people so much that regardless if they don't believe what I believe in, I'm just willing to listen. And I think that's probably been one of the biggest things that's helped me to stick with my standards, stick with things I believe in, but also still get along with a lot of people, is I listen to them and I let them speak. And when they realize that I actually have love for them, regardless of if our beliefs are opposite or not, we find common ground first and then build from there.
Yeah, I try to do that.
Awesome.
But I've always been a negative person. So I always see the negative side of people. My son is like an opposite. He sees all the good side of people. And I'm trying to get better at that. But part of the problem is I don't pick up on social cues. It's like I'm always out of it. When I'm in a group, it's like I become invisible. So I guess that's what I was asking. Do you feel comfortable in groups and talking in groups and stuff?
I'd say no. I'm not comfortable talking in groups.
Yeah.
I'm usually
That's
the one
good.
that hangs back and lets other people talk.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, I can relate a lot to that.
Yeah. I used to go with my brother, who was a big bully. I mean, the biggest bully you could think of was my brother.
Yeah.
He reminded me of Tom Selleck in what's that policeman show? Whatever.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
He had a friend across the street, and it was his friend, not my friend. And I would go along like a lapdog, and I would just do whatever they wanted to do and never talk ever. Maybe one word in the whole day. And because I was scared. I was afraid to talk. So, I don't know if that's something that you run into or you're more comfortable.
I've had to learn the comfortability of talking because I didn't, like I mentioned before, in grade school, I'd be the one that knew the answer but wouldn't raise his hand.
Right.
During lunches, I'd be the one that sat there and ate lunch. And even if I had friends around, they'd be the ones talking and telling stories. The only time I would actually talk was either when I'm at home with people I felt comfortable around or at my friend's house, to where we were just having a bunch of fun and I could feel like I could talk without being judged or anything like that. So I've had to learn over, the last almost decade now, I've had to learn how to be okay talking and that people are okay listening to my voice. There's a lot of times I listen to myself on videos or audios and I'm like, man, I don't like listening to what I see.
No,
like.
you're perfect. You have a great voice.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Absolutely perfect. I do the same thing. I go, oh, here I go. I wind up mumbling or whatever I do wrong. That's why I edit like crazy. I take out a mistake I make. Because I'll come up and before I can remember the name of the show, it's I don't know.
Yeah, but it's practice over time, and that's what gets there. Like you were saying that through most of your life, you weren't too comfortable with talking that. It's just been like the last little bit as you've been doing your podcast and as you you're starting to learn to talk and do things more. And you probably don't realize it or not, but the one thing that you keep mentioning is that you don't know like the social cues of when to talk and that. You and I are having a perfectly fine conversation. I enjoy what we're talking about right now and us going back and forth. It's been great. And I think that's what you've been able to learn.
I have no script. I don't script it. I have two things I asked about. And we didn't get into your childhood. Were you in a comfortable family or was it more of a dysfunctional family? Like most families. If you want to talk about it, if you don't want to, that's fine.
No, I was in I'd say more comfortable than dysfunctional. Good. My brother also has dyslexia and we've had some other mental abilities in the house from autism. And other stuff like that. So my parents were very adept to it, and they're also pretty good at helping support us. So I'd say more supportive.
My parents were WW2, and they had no idea. They're like, you're either crazy or you're not. There's no mental illness. So I grew up all alone with this, and it was horrible. And I don't want people to feel sorry for it. I'm just saying. This is why I do this podcast, where the person that goes and says, oh my God, I feel so bad. I'll always feel this way. It's not true. You can make yourself better in so many different ways. Your techniques, medicine, everything's out there for you if you look and if you want it. You just have to want it. You have to want to live and you have to want to try to get better. And it's hard. It's very hard. But what else is there? You gotta try to be positive. Now that I'm older, I worry about, the death part. And I just have to live 24 hours. I mean, I don't even sleep that much because I'm afraid I'll miss something. But, it's like, it's hard. It's hard dealing with a lot of different things. But because of what I've gone through with this podcast and other things that happened in my life, I am like happy at least 50% of the time. And the other percentage I deal with. I mean, it's just, I deal with it. And I know a lot of dyslexics that are doing great things. There's a guy that learns how to read better. One of my episodes, what is it called? The story of reading or something. He went on this TV show and they taught him how to read differently. So it went to the back of his brain rather than the front of his brain. It's a very interesting interview if you get a chance to look at it. David something. And he's putting together a program where he's going to sell this AI that's going to teach you to read differently. And that he says that he reads books like crazy now. There's no problem. He has no problem reading anymore. And now with AI, when you write, you can run it through AI and they'll fix it for you, which I do. And it's really good. I think AI is going to be, oh my God, that's going to take off big time. Maybe not now because people don't know what it is, but once that gets out in the world and, there'll be teddy bears that talk to their kids and oh my God, it's going to be something.
Yeah. AI is incredible and it's never, it's only getting better. And it's so great because we didn't have that growing up.
Oh no.
The AI that's out here now. And so it's so much easier for dyslexics to be able to do stuff because what we've felt like we've been so behind. Well, now we can turn it over to AI in writing things.
Big time.
Everything.
Even spell check. I mean, I cannot, seriously, I swear to anybody, I cannot write a text sentence without a grammatical error. Either I spell something wrong, I don't put the hyphen in there, I do something wrong. So almost every text I send, I have to go back and proofread it. And I still have problems with it. So my age has really accelerated the dyslexia. So, it's hard to deal with. I'm trying to get in better shape so my mind is a little bit better. I had a tough time. I had some oxygen issues, and I think that put me in more of a fog-like state. So I'm fighting that. But I'm staying positive, and I think I can win. and I'm stubborn, so I'll keep doing it over and over until I win. So, I mean, you have to learn from your losses, and you have to keep going. Is my main message. Keep going because it's going to get better. But
that's a powerful message. Yeah, it's going to happen. 5 years is going to happen. No matter what. So you might as well do something good or you might as well learn to do something rather than just sit there because you don't, at least me personally, I remember when I first heard this, I don't want to be myself right now in 5 years. I want to be the better person in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't change anything, I'm going to be the self that I am today in 5 years. And so if we don't want to be ourself right now in 5 years, then we just keep moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you have to do. The end of the program, I always, because I may have forgotten something important, I always give my guests the last word to, please give us your links that we can reach you on and any products or just a message to the audience, if you want.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I work a lot with dyslexic entrepreneurs and professionals. And so anyone who, for your audience, I'd love to give it as a gift. Anybody who is a dyslexic who wants to achieve something, whatever that, if that's a goal, a dream, or a wish, I have an ebook that I've written called the Dyslexic Achiever's Blueprint. And it's there it goes over the 5 steps on how to break things down and actually to get clear on where you're going, what plan you need to take, and then how to take your 2% action. I give that as a gift to people, and people can grab that at coachwillieblake.com / whatever that slash is.
I don't know. Some kind of slash.
/free gift. So coachwillieblake.com / gift. And that's a gift that I give to people who listen to the awesome shows like this. And then if anyone wants to know more about me, our community, or being able to reach to get on a call with me, coachwillieblake.com is the place where people can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this all day long, but I have to keep it to within an hour. People drift off and stuff. But I really enjoyed our conversation. You're a great guest. You have great information. This whole thing about being positive is such a great message. And I wish you, so much happiness and success in the future, because I think you're on your way, and I think it's great. It's terrific.
I appreciate that, Bob. Thank you. And great success with your podcast and everyone else who's listening. Just keep moving forward.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.